We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxingego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live.
Wow. More bad news for Canelo payday. You want payday? I know that. The cruiserweight that he was moving up for just got forced to take another fight. It's mandatory. I'm going to explain that in this video. Stay tuned. We unpack. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Listen, I don't know how you found my video, but somehow, some way you made it. You arrived at the content. Well done. Reach one, teach one. Help others find the content by throwing a like on the video. It's quick, painless, free, costs you nothing. Pay me no mind. If you don't like the content, costs you nothing. Pay me no mind. But if you do like the content, throw a like on the video. It goes a long way. Now, the walls are closing in for Canelo Alvarez. We are going to stay on top of this subject. Out of nowhere, at the WBC convention, their annual convention, we back Canelo. That's what the WBC stands for. They're willing to budge and do anything, even if it hurts the sport of boxing, even if it's not what the fans are asking of the fighter. And that's the reality. So out of nowhere, Canelo Alvarez says he's moving up to cruiserweight. Keep in mind, he just became undisputed at 168. So Canelo feels he's God tier, and he's like, I'm the A side, I work for this, so I can do whatever I want. Meanwhile, there's great fights that fans are clamoring for, none of which are at cruiserweight in terms of big names and blockbuster fights. And this is what Canelo decides to do. Now, we unpacked, and I'm gonna have some fun with this video. Buckle up. So, interesting enough, this happened at the WBC convention, and that's why I like doing these unpacks, so I can really unpack the chronological order, give you guys all the facts so you get caught up. I get to take my time with it. So if you like this long form content, subscribe to the channel. So at the WBC convention, it was out of nowhere announced that Canelo was going to move up to cruiserweight, and he was going to fight some guy named Makabu or Makabu, you know, Umbaku. I'm not really good with names, right? This was out of nowhere. People then looked it up. Me, I already knew who he was because I seen a couple of his fights, namely the Tony Bellew fight where he got knocked out. So it's a guy with 2 losses, and both losses he was knocked out, right? But wait, there's more. Now, strangely enough, after Canelo announced this and said he was going to fight Makabu at cruiserweight, it was clearly met with a lot of jeers because people would rather see Canelo fight the likes of David Benavidez, who's been calling him out, Jermall Charlo, Demetrius Andrade, other good fights like Bivol or Beterbiev. But no, Canelo says he wants to go to cruiserweight and search for history. And it's all cap, it's all BS, because if you're looking for dangerous fights, you don't have to go all the way up to cruiserweight to fight a guy who only became a champion after the former undisputed great Alexander Usyk moved up, right? He couldn't beat Tony Bellew, and then Tony Bellew lost to Usyk. So clearly he wasn't the best. The Makabu guy wasn't the best in the division. And since Usyk moved up to heavyweight and has since beaten Anthony Joshua, we that left opportunities for the other cruiserweight. You have to keep in mind, historically, the cruiserweight division has never been a poppin' division. What I mean is, I mean a poppin' division like middleweight, like welterweight, like lightweight, where you have a ton of litany of contemporary stars with enormous talent. Like you look at welterweight in the last 5 years or so, there's a plethora of great names in that division, from Errol Spence to Terrence Crawford. Just them right there, that's a lot of skill. You know, Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford, Jaron Ennis, Virgil Ortiz, Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, Keith One-Time Thurman, Pacquiao until he just retired, Yordenis Ugas, right? Just to name a few. Andre Berto. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Broner was fighting out of there, right? So a lot of top talent in the welterweight division. Cruiserweight has never been like that. Cruiserweight has, at best, had a couple of fights, and then once a victor is determined, then that person usually moves up, like David Haye and Evander Holyfield and Usyk, in pursuit of bigger and better fights, right? And it's produced a couple stars who later had to go up to heavyweight to get that real smoke. So Canelo making this move, it's all cap, and we know why he's doing it. And I've talked about it. But to my surprise, and I'm using that loosely because I don't really get surprised in boxing. I got an email from Don King. More bad news for Canelo Alvarez. In this email, and I'll show you some screen caps. In this email, you see it says Don King returns to Ohio to present the WBC Cruiserweight Championship fight, pitting WBC Cruiserweight champion Junior Makabu and WBC Silver champion MCHUNU. You know, I'm not good with these names. So, long story short, Don King is promoting a rematch between the guy that Canelo did the face-off with at the WBC convention and says he wants to fight Junior Makabu, which means Junior Makabu, he has a mandatory and he has to get past his mandatory in order to face Canelo, right? So this is the email. Homecoming at last. The fight for the forgotten people, the homeless, poor, and downtrodden people will benefit from this championship doubleheader. The world's greatest boxing promoter, Don King, will return to his home state of Ohio Saturday, January 29th, 2022, as he presents another blockbuster for the forgotten people who won't be forgotten anymore. World Championship fight pitting WBC Cruiserweight champ, again, Junior Makabu, and the #1 challenger, WBC Silver, MCHUNU, right? WBC World Championship fight for the love of the people will be held at this particular venue. In addition, there's some other fights, blah, blah, blah. And you see right here, it says, King, who represents Makabu, came to an agreement with MCHUNU's representative for a World Championship fight, and the winner will advance to fight Mexico's champion Canelo Alvarez in May. So Don King is saying that Canelo is going to this particular fight and he'll be ringside, and now he has to fight the winner. So this is what happened. Canelo Alvarez and the WBC clearly are in cahoots. So there's some palms being greased or whatever is happening behind the scenes, and they've approved Canelo to fight against the guy Makabu. Bad news for Canelo is he's trying to cherry pick and select the weak link champion, you know, because, and what I mean by weak link is this, again, is a guy who couldn't become a champion by beating a guy like Usyk or Tony Bellew. He had to become a champion after Usyk left the division. So Canelo tried to just handpick this guy, and little did he know that this guy has responsibilities and an obligation to fight his mandatory. So he needs to fight his mandatory, and his mandatory, shout out to MCHUNU or whatever his name is, right? So MCHUNU, he said, I ain't taking no step aside money. I want my rematch. I'm the interim champion or whatever it says, whatever version of a WBC silver champion. I'm the #1 mandatory. And I don't care what Canelo's talking about. Canelo got to wait. So shout out to MCHUNU and his people. He pulled rank. Canelo just wanted to move and, you know, try to move in and cherry pick what he believes is a weaker champion. And now he's facing this pushback because he has to wait for this fight in January to conclude, and now I guess fight the winner of the fight. And one day, I do believe all these cherry pickings from Canelo Alvarez will probably backfire, where somebody's a little bit better than you expected and you're trying to play it safe and play these games and tiptoe around Demetrius Andrade, Jamal Charlo, Beterbiev, Bivol, David Benavidez, etc. And then somebody else might get your number while you playing around, you know? So I do think that's definitely a possibility with Canelo Alvarez because, you know, at the end of the day, all it takes is one night and all it takes is the right succession of punches. But for Canelo to do this move, it just goes to show you that this is not in the betterment of the sport of boxing, because look at what was about to happen. If it was up to Canelo, he would go straight into the Junior Makabu fight, and then somebody who's actually a cruiserweight, MCHUNU, who is owed a rematch, which we'll get into. Make sure you guys stay tuned because you don't want to miss what I'm going to go over in a second. See, there's often imitated, never duplicated. When you see me do videos and watch, I set all the trends in this sport of boxing. There's things, because I do the research and have the knowledge up in here, and people just copy it. So make sure you know where you're getting your information from, because what I reveal in a few seconds or a few moments, you know, a lot of people aren't really talking about. But anyway, this is one of the major reasons why what Canelo's doing is so harmful to the sport of boxing, because he's trying to basically pick a champion, because he wasn't going to move up to Usyk, you know, and fight at cruiserweight when they had a guy like Usyk. He's trying to pick on someone he thinks is tailor-made for him to beat, which I'll get into in a second. And I promise you, there ain't no Canelo fan out there, I don't care how much you like him, that can disprove what I'm about to show you, because what I'm about to show you is all fact. But the bad thing is this dude had to put his foot down, MCHUNU, as a permanent resident at cruiserweight, and he could have been looked over if he didn't stand his ground, you know, because Canelo was just trying to hop in and fight the MacBook while he has a belt, try to take the belt. And we know Canelo has no intentions of staying at cruiserweight to fight the best, the Dorticoses and the guys like Miris Bradis, right? We know this. So it's just really a waste of everybody's time, and you're disrupting the natural occurrence. It's like Canelo goes into a forest because he's bored, and then he starts disturbing all the wildlife. Or the pond is perfectly settled and you can see the sun beaming down, you can see your reflection, and everything's just at peace. The deers are drinking from, you know, the bank, and Canelo's skipping rocks and just creating ripples in the pond and really just disrupting the ambiance and the scenery. You know, it's just a still forest until someone comes in screaming or yelling or skipping rocks or whatever the situation is, with guns, you know what I mean? Hunting. And that's what happens. I get that Canelo's popular and things like that, but you just disrupt too much, because like I said, more often than not, it screws over the MCHUNUs of the world. So he's just waiting for his rematch. And, you know, if he didn't put his foot down, he probably could have got skipped over. And then Canelo, really a super middleweight at the moment, would just be moving in with no intentions of staying. It's horrible for boxing. So pretty interesting to see Don King is promoting this fight, and then Canelo's going to the fight and trying to fight the winner, when there's so many fights for Canelo that are already here and now and ready made. Like, I mean, common sense, David Benavidez, Charlo, all these fights. And he's just out here picking some random obscure fight that's going to be a smaller fight card in Ohio, and he's trying to fight the winner. So we know what that's about. But this is the good part. I told you guys, stay tuned. Let's take a look at it. Roll the clip. So this is the fight, Chinunu and Makbuk part 1. And just want you to listen to the commentators who now keep in mind, Makbuk did win the fight. He got a late stoppage in round 11, but he wasn't looking great early in the fight, and he himself almost got stopped. And I want you guys to listen to that. And this is who Canelo wants to fight. Makbuk almost got knocked out early in this fight, I believe in the 3rd round. So just listen to the commentators and it was going bad for him. Again, this is who Canelo wants to fight. So he did get knocked out by Tony Bellew, but this guy he's rematching, per the Don King email that Canelo's supposed to be in attendance for, this is it. Roll the clip.
It's a pity really you cannot see what is happening right behind us. And what you can see is right now in the ring, look at that right jab from MCHUNU. A very, very educated right, and then it comes up with a right cross. And look at the knees of Makabu buckling there.
So you guys just heard him. Look at the knees of Canelo's future opponent, Makabu. Look at his knees buckling.
Junior Makabu is getting nailed there.
Junior Makabu, who Canelo wants to fight, is getting nailed there.
He's got to start throwing punches now.
He's getting nailed, Brian.
Getting nailed.
And it's all to be some good.
I think Junior Makabu, Brian, is making one mistake, and now he's getting frustrated. Now
He said he's making one mistake, he's getting frustrated.
he's getting frustrated. Now he's getting desperate. And I think this is where now he's going to get knocked out.
He said he's gonna get knocked out.
This is where now he's going to get knocked out. If they can continue fighting this one.
You know, unfortunately, the problem is Junior's a slow starter, but you can't. Oh, brilliant punch! From the beat, and Junior Makabu.
Now you hear the crowd going wild because he's buckling and he's almost got stopped.
Brilliant punch! From the beat, and Junior Makabu.
This is who Canelo wants to fight.
Hands from MCHUNU, and it's all right hand, left hand from MCHUNU, and Junior Makabu is in serious trouble.
He is in serious trouble, Brian, because this uppercut there in the rope.
And it's all the rock here from KwaZulu-Natal to MCHUNU fighting a brilliant fight. There's a right jab again. What is Junior Makabu going to do to get back into the fight?
What is Makabu going to do to get back in the fight?
He's got problems.
He got problems.
He's got a bum now.
He's getting frustrated, Makabu, and this is when he's going to get knocked out, because now he's not thinking.
He said Makabu's going to get knocked out. Told you. He's going to get knocked out because he's frustrated.
He's not thinking.
Big right.
He's not thinking now.
Makabu, and this is when he's going to get knocked out, because now he's not thinking.
Big right hand, left hand by MCHUNU.
MCHUNU is a very, very dangerous boxer, Brian. And until Makabu realizes that, he's going to be in trouble.
Well, right now, Peter, there's only one guy in the fight.
There's only one guy in the fight.
And it's the guy that's getting hurt. It's the guy that a lot of people thought would win this fight. Personally, I thought Junior would do better than this.
Personally, I thought Junior Makabu would do better than this.
But it was time to fight the real deal, and this is it.
And it's missing, Brian. Makabu.
Makabu's missing.
And that's because MCHUNU is making miss.
Oh, brilliant stuff from MCHUNU. Right uppercuts, left hands. And Junior is just soaking up punishment as he bombs a left hand of his own.
Soaking up punishment.
But not in the fight at all as Junior Makabu.
He said he's not
getting nailed, Brian.
He's not in the fight at all. He's getting nailed.
And Junior is just soaking up punishment as he bombs a left hand of his own. But not in the fight at all as Junior Makabu.
He's getting nailed, Brian.
He's getting badly nailed. One-way traffic in the first 3 rounds.
Problem with his hitting, and those that are landing south of the belt, and the referee had to warn him, Junior Makabu. His knees are buckling, Brian. I don't know for how long can he take these big punches from MCHUNU.
He said his knees are buckling, Brian. I don't know how long Makabu can take these punches. So this rematch, maybe it's a good fight because Makabu survived and came back and knocked this guy out in the 11th round. But you hear the judges, or not judges, the commentators, they knew it was bad for Makabu. And this guy who Tony Bellew knocked out, and who almost got knocked out here, this is who Canelo wants to move up and fight instead of fighting difficult styles. And it's funny because you get the same thing from the Canelo Chupapi Muñeño. The Canelo fans, the radical fans, they keep saying the same thing. They say Canelo will destroy anybody you put in front of him. David Benavidez, Jamal Charlo, and guys like that, Bivol, better be it. But why won't he fight them? Why do you need to go up multiple weight divisions to fight some unheard of guy? And most people haven't even seen this fight, let alone the rematch, let alone this guy ever fight. Why go there when there's ready-made fights right here and now, like David Benavidez, Charlo, Andre? And again, I wish Canelo and his team had the same level of decision-making and energy that some of his fans have, because his fans will say Canelo, he schools up everybody, he knocks out everybody. But if that's the case, then why not take the dangerous challenges that are right before you, that are bigger fights for the world of boxing, and then you can move up and fight all the Makabu you want? So the fact that, like, it's just like Thanksgiving or something. We just had the holiday Thanksgiving, so I'll use a food analogy. It's like Thanksgiving and you're going up for dessert and you haven't even ate your vegetables. You haven't even cleaned off your first plate. You still got leftover turkey and meat, and you still have, in addition to the poultry, you still have mashed potatoes and veggies you haven't ate, and you're trying to get a whole fresh plate, you know, treating it like almost like a buffet where you just leave your food on the table, someone picks it up. You know, where I'm from, you got to finish your first plate. You know, if your eyes are too big, you know, bigger than your appetite, then you shouldn't have put so much on your plate, but you had to finish your first plate. And as it relates to Canelo Alvarez, there's still stuff he can do at 168. Okay, you became undisputed. You had like an easier path based on who had titles in that given division. There's still other great fights like Usyk. See, Usyk didn't play these Canelo games. He became undisputed and then took a Tony Bellew fight because it was a big fight, a lucrative fight, and it was still a dangerous guy who had just beaten David Haye twice and also knocked out this Makabu guy. So Usyk stayed at cruiserweight and took a meaningful fight. Canelo could do that with David Benavidez. Just because you became undisputed doesn't mean there's absolutely nothing left. But in cases like Terrence Crawford, when he became undisputed, there were no Regis Prograis, Josh Taylor's thriving at that given moment. So after knocking out Indongo, I understand Terrence Crawford moving up to 147 because that's where the bigger fights were, even though he hasn't really gotten them. You know what I mean? It just didn't make sense at that given time to stay at 140 because 140 wasn't plentiful with stars. So that makes sense. But in or around Canelo's division right now, 175, 168, where he's fought, there's still dangers that are really good fights and bigger fights. So it really makes no sense for Canelo to be doing this, and he's clearly cherry picking. And this is the guy he wants to fight, Makabu. We unpack. Let me know how I did in this video, and I'm out.
The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster. We working.